What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word globalization? Basically, it's the interconnectedness of world economies. Businesses operate on an international level. We have open national borders. Hi, I'm Manu Denny. I'll be discussing whether globalization increases poverty and inequality across various countries. With globalization, we have flow of trade, capital, labor, technology, information across national borders. The question whether globalization increases poverty and inequality has been going on for decades, and authors have been fighting to find an answer. The standard trade theory states that there is a fall in poverty in developing countries. It's based on wage and employment. In a full employment scenario, with liberalization, there is decrease in trading cost, which encourages production of goods and services. With more production of goods and services, we need more labor. With the high increase in demand for labor, we have increased wages, which leads to reduction of poverty over time. But these are just theories. Let's see some examples. In Latin America, we have the agricultural exports. There is a decrease in employment level. How? With the price of exportable goods of agricultural manufacture is directly impacting the wage of workers, skilled and unskilled labor. The result is decrease in unemployment. This leads to decrease in poverty. Let's discuss another aspect. There is policy between government and labor groups. The poor are dependent on public facilities for their survival. For instance, we have hospitals, healthcare facilities, we have education, other government amenities. In a global economy, the government has to make policy amendments to end up with the global standards. It is difficult for the poor to cope up with these, as they are directly influenced by the fluctuations in government expenditure. The poor lack education to take advantage in these situations, as they do not know what to do. Let's see some South African countries. For instance, Kenya. We have reports showing increased standards of living. But these are for two sections. We have two sections in there. We have the Western Cape, with the wealthier section who have shown an increased standard of living. We have the other section which have been poorer. With liberalization, there is coming of labor shaving machinery. The unskilled laborers have been replaced with experts and upgraded tech with a high pay though. In Senegal, we have the tomato export industry. Surveys were taken, studies were done, shows that poverty reduction was absolute for both both the urban and rural people. There has been 40% increase in employment opportunities, mainly for poor and the uneducated. But a small problem with this was this study or survey was done only for a specific sector or industry. The actual census, when it comes to an actual economy, may vary. Globalization sure does increase productivity and growth. Farmers, let's take an instance, maybe farmer who produces goods cannot afford a bag of fertilizer. How can he produce higher standard products with a higher standard quality in a required amount for these international markets, which leads them to withdraw from the market. Also, people producing local produce withdraw from these markets as there is no more need for local produce, thus increasing poverty, increasing the gap between the rich and the poor. Also, environmentalists complain that overexploitation of these natural resources have been taking place to get these resources out of the land. So, there is environmental degradation as well. And with law and poverty, how does these go? Are they important? Yes, they are. Governance plays an important role in poverty alleviation. In Pakistan, the poverty was alleviated from 1984 to 2008. But that's not the case in every country. In Mexico, the average income fell to 4 to 7 times the national average. The extreme poverty standard set was 1.90 per day in US dollars. But around 656 million people lived below this poverty line in 2018. Increased poverty, unequal wealth, labor market exploitations were the gifts of globalization. But it can also bring economic opportunities, benefits when accompanied with effective governance, inclusive policies, and so on. Overall, a comprehensive, sustainable approach is needed to maximize the positive impacts of globalization on poverty reduction.